Are you in excruciating pain brought on by your son, daughter, or spouse suffering from addiction? You are not alone. If you call Recovery Centers of America today at 1-888-RECOVERY, your whole family can begin to recover. At Recovery Centers of America at Capital Region and Bracebridge Hall, your loved one will be treated with care by expert addiction professionals, while family programming will give you support and healing so that you can recover as well. RCA accepts insurance, provides transportation, and offers intervention services. Call 1-888-RECOVERY now.
It takes a lot of ingredients to fix or build a car, like cooking, but without the frozen dinner easy way out. eBay Motors has 122 million parts. It's always the right fitment, so you can follow any recipe to a T. Whether it's a vintage Italian coupe that's classic like Grandma's meatballs, or a German luxury car that's as complicated as Oma's rouladen, to cook up something great in the garage, use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Hey everyone, this is the Elmo's World Podcast. Bringing to you mind-blowing interviews with guests from all over the world. So settle down, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh yeah, by the way, if you like the podcast, please support Elmo's World Podcast on Patreon. Your support is what helps the podcast improve more and more. Welcome to Elmo's World Podcast. This is Elmo Ador Jr. It's great to have my friend Elijah Weldon here.
Hello.
Elijah, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Elijah Weldon. I'm from America, Missouri specifically. My interests are, I really like to sing. I like to write songs, that sort of thing. I've been interested in music for about, how long now? I've started taking it seriously since, for 9 years now, I believe. I first started taking singing seriously when I was 9. That's when I started taking music more seriously, and it's a big part of my life. So yeah.
Okay, but what specific country are you from?
America, like I said, USA.
Okay, cool. So I'm from the Philippines, just so you know. Anyway, so I want to get down to business and ask you, what is your personal philosophy? You know, what are your basic, proper basic beliefs?
I think the basis of my personal philosophy is an interesting one, because it kind of seems a little bit contradictory when you first look at it. But I think at the same time, it kind of encourages you to think about things a little bit differently. Because the thing is, I'm someone that's been Christian for a long time, but I like to act like a God doesn't exist, which I think is really interesting, because the way I see it is if you live with the mindset that basically everyone that you know is going to lose everything they love at one point, I think you would want to be a little bit more compassionate to them, wouldn't you? Because knowing that every single person on this earth is going to lose everything at one point, you'd want to be a little bit kinder to them. And I think a lot of times some people can be a little bit more secure about being an ass when it comes to religion, because they think, oh, I've got the truth and everyone else is wrong, which I think it's completely fine to believe that. But the second that you bully someone or insult them for believing something different than you, that's kind of where I draw the line. If that makes any sense at all.
Okay, cool. Yeah, true. I agree with you that if if you have beliefs, it doesn't give you
Oh,
the
for
right
sure.
to be an ass to other people, and but the thing is that some people feel that they have the right to like tell other people that they're wrong, because sometimes like deep inside they want other people to believe in what they believe, in order for them to
Oh,
also
that's
be
true.
like be saved
That's
from
true.
hell or something.
I definitely
So
understand
in a
that
way it's
aspect too. There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with trying to convince someone with your argument, but the second that you start insulting them just because they see the world different than you, the thing about us humans is that our brains are all different. We all have different experiences, and as a result, we all see the world differently. The brain gets a lot of its information from
Mm-hmm.
experiences that we have. And the way that we view the world is based almost entirely upon the way that the things that have happened to us. Our experiences, yeah, our experiences basically shape how we see the world. And not everyone has the same experiences. So I think sometimes it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit difficult to actually try to put yourself outside of your own experiences, because it's basically the things that you know, and you have to basically say, I don't really know anything. This is just what I feel like I personally know from my experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, and but the thing is, like for someone, for example, who's a Christian, who believes that the intensity of the importance of sharing, for example, the gospel to someone else, like you gotta, in a way, you gotta be stubborn in a sense, or headstrong, to tell them that they're wrong, in order to, because you truly believe that in order for them to be saved, they have to believe what you believe, right? So there's an urgency for someone to believe what you believe. So in a way, you approach this sort of big, trying to save them from themselves by maybe disrespecting or disregarding what they already believe, or how they come to believe what their own beliefs already. So I guess that comes with the idea that okay, this, I
Yeah,
have discovered this truth, this salvation, and I need to share this to other people. But I guess that um to be a true Christian, I think the essence of it is not sharing it, not just by words, but by also letting them experience it, but from the true love of Christ,
oh yeah,
not just
I
in
believe
words, but in your
that's a
own actions
yeah,
as well. So I
that's a
think that's
huge issue that
one thing that's
a lot of
essential.
Christianity has today, because it's kind of like Mahatma Gandhi said. He said, "I like your Christ, but I don't like your Christians. Your Christians are so unlike you, Christ." Like when you look at the word Christian, what Christian's really supposed to mean is Christ-like.
True, true.
Would Christ really go around telling people they're going to hell? I don't think that Christ really talked to people like that. Like he sat with tax collectors, prostitutes. He sat with a lot of people that Christians today call like morally corrupt or immoral. So I think a lot of Christianity is kind of pharisaical, like very Pharisee like. Like there's so much self righteousness nowadays, and I think that's the main thing that gives Christians a bad rap. So
Yeah, true. And but when we talk about, like, for example, how Christians should share the gospel, I myself, I'm a Christian, but when you talk about like share the gospel in maybe like an island, a remote island where nobody ever, no missionary ever touched or stepped on, you could have that energy to share the gospel. But in terms of like in Western societies, or societies that are already an overabundance of the gospel, and the thing is that in order for your faith, or your faith to stand out among all those who present themselves to have the story, the message of salvation, you need to actually have something authentic or genuine, which not it's not just more on theology or on the good words or the the message, but I think that something authentic which could actually connect with people. So but I'm specifically talking about this, the having developing relationships with the people you're trying to share the gospel, actually having a real connection, where you can share this special love that Christ has brought to earth, and but yeah, what do you think?
I think that getting to know someone, like having a relationship, to tell what you believe and let everyone know about things like that, I think that's very important, because in order for someone to actually kind of respect what you believe, you have to show them that what you believe is able to, what's the way to say it? It's compatible with the way that you act, if that makes any sense.
Like it's the evidence itself for your words, like action speaks louder than words, as they always say. So I'm guessing that's what you're trying to say.
There's a lot of hypocrisy in the church today. There's a lot of do as I say, not as I do, and I think that's the reason why a lot of Christianity is looked at as bad. There's a lot of people that think that Christians are just a bunch of self-righteous, pseudo-moralistic jerks that think that they know better than everyone, which I don't think is actually true. I think the issue is that there's a lot of good Christians out there, but you have people, like if you have people that are like really bad, they always stand out from everything else. That's just the way it works, unfortunately. The bad extremist of any group will stand out more than the regular ones do. That's just unfortunately how that works.
Yeah. But one thing I think that is essential in order to understand why there's a lot of hypocrisy in Christianity is because a lot of people are being born inside of Christian families and raised in Christian churches, but they never really got into the essence of experiencing Christ in their lives. For them, it's just religion, and it's something that is institutional rather than something that they experience within their own spiritual life.
Yeah, it's like the main thing I think is that like the issues that there's been some sort of I think there's been a lot of obsession with the whole rules thing. It's like I gotta follow all these rules, or if I don't, I'm going to hell. I don't think that's really the right way to live. I think personally what I've been taught is that God sacrificed his son so we could have life and we could have it more abundantly. But you have people out there that think that living in poverty, barely surviving, is what God wants for them. I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah, but in terms of what God wants, I think that in essence, this is what God wants. But what God specifically wants is or it could be fully manifested in the future, because right now, I think the present is not what God wants, but what God wants for us, which is that we humans could have this free will where we could determine our own future, and we could choose to love God and love each other on our own terms. But the thing is that because of free will, we could also choose the wrong decisions, the bad ones, which has brought us to where we are today. But I think that in terms of how we should look at what God wants, we could always look at the beauty in the sad parts, or the despair in life. People get depressed a lot. There's nihilism, this growing, um yeah, yeah,
Oh, dude, nihilism is a growing trend. Like you look at it, you see it a lot in humor, a lot. You see it in a lot of people's worldviews. Like you can just tell by how some people talk that they really do live like life has no meaning, and it's kind of sad to see because I think a lot of people misunderstand what nihilism was supposed to be for. They kind of turn it into a toxic version of what it was actually supposed to be.
yeah, true. But there, I think that in terms of not.
Nihilism says life has no meaning, but I think the best way to live life is make your own meaning. I think the purpose of life, at least this is the way I see it, is our job is to try to make this world as good as it can be. The way I see it, look, there's like 7.5 billion people on this earth, right? If every single person just did like a random kind act for like the other person, all those random kind acts, I think that a chain reaction like that can actually change the world. I think the issue is that the thing is, a lot of people want to change the world. Don't you agree? Don't you want to change the world in some way? A lot of people do. But the issue is that a lot of people aren't willing to change themselves. Because the thing is, you can't really change anyone else. You can only change yourself. You can't change people's minds. They have to change their mind themselves. They have to be willing to accept what you're saying to them instead of saying, no, you're wrong, I'm right. So there's not really a way to change anyone's mind. They have to change it for themselves. And unfortunately, a lot of people, they want the world to change, but they're not willing to put in work for it. You have a lot of people who are just, talking about how they want to change things, but it seems like it's all superficial. It's all just to get like brownie points on social media. You don't really see these people doing anything outside of talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know
You
if
know,
you watched
it's not to say it's bad to bring awareness
yeah,
to anything, but like if you're talking about like how this is something that's really important, I'd expect you to at least do something for it.
true. And I don't know if you watched the movie like The Platform, not Netflix, but uh, and this movie talks about a spontaneous social solidarity, which means that at some point in the whole chaos of society, there's this moment where all of society just works together in order to bring harmony and peace, but and the problem is that in the past there have been a lot of attempts at this, like the French Revolution, the Marxist revolutions, even the Christian wars and all that stuff. It's humans attempt to reach this utopia, but the problem is that in order for this to happen, I think that the real source of the problem is not the institution that we set for society, but the innate nature and disposition by which we humans have inside of us. Because no matter what rules you set, if the members or the citizens are rotten, there's always going to be a problem, no matter what perfect utopian society you have.
Oh, for sure, for sure, dude. Like yeah, the thing I've always thought is like I'm no communist myself, but I always thought that communism, on paper sounded good. Like think
Yeah,
about
it is.
There's no poor people. Everyone gets what they need. But then you had the whole thing with the Soviet Union, and that kind of messed up a lot of things.
But a lot of people still talk about, because Marxism could work right now because we have the technology, like we having universal basic income, or maybe just finding the balance between Marxism and just being on the regular left, and but the thing is that in order for that to happen, the whole world needs to work together, and that human greed needs to be uh, removed from the human system, but to be honest, that will never happen unless like we change how we evolved in the past, because we as humans, we are like, it's part of ingrained in our system to think of ourselves rather than others, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, selfishness is part of survival. Unfortunately, it's just the way that it works. You see a lot of animals in nature that are very selfish. They do whatever they can to make sure that, they and their children survive. They and their children get the best they can get,
Yeah, and but I guess that, but the thing about what you believe is that sometimes it shapes who you are, right? For example, if you talk about the Nazis, for example, in Germany, although like millions of citizens believing this social Darwinism where they are like the higher species of mankind, in a way it's not really true, but that because it's ingrained in their identity, they believe this, and so they act upon this and justify their actions. Oh, look at these Jews, these gypsies, they're lower humans, so whatever cruelty we're doing to them, it doesn't matter. And the scary thing about this is that we humans, whatever we believe, we actually become what we believe, so and that's the scary thing. But I guess that the good thing we can do about that is that I think that if we believe the right things, like good liberal, classic liberal values, maybe even instill a Christianity in that, but the good ones, I think that we could make a good society that where almost everyone is doesn't have a problem with anybody, but I guess it still has to work in the future. We have to still keep studying it.
Yeah, I think that. And I think to strive to be like Christ is like an admirable goal, because from the stories, he was just someone that, wanted to help everyone. He performed many miracles. He was selfless, essentially. To strive to be like that isn't a bad thing. The issue is that you have a lot of Christians out there that identify more with the Pharisees than they do with Christ himself.
Yeah, but when you talk about
you have Christians nowadays who would probably stone a prostitute if they found one.
But when you talk about like Jesus actually trying to help others, like feeding the poor or the hungry and healing the sick, because Christianity actually hates the world right now. It focuses more on the afterlife, like do good things, or love your neighbor and God, worship God, so that you could like live your life in heaven, But the thing is that Jesus actually did good things on this earth while he was alive. He did miracles, helped other people, healed the sick, because I think he knew that there's still value in doing good in this earth, even if there is an afterlife that we should look forward to. But there's still importance in doing kindness and helping others and sharing love while we're still alive on earth, and he couldn't ignore it in his own lifetime. So for me, that speaks a lot.
Most definitely. I feel like a lot of times in Christianity, there's a little bit of a comfort people have, and with that comfort comes complacency. A lot of Christians let themselves become complacent. They become satisfied with where they are. I think that, everyone, no matter who they are, should always focus on improving themselves constantly, because you're never going to get to the point where you're perfect, so you can only get better. I think that's one of the best parts about being human. The ideal maybe not be attainable, but at the same time, you can get close to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Mm-hmm.
We all have the capacity to
Sure.
improve ourselves.
But I want to ask you, like, what is your own specific faith? Like, what do you believe in terms of that?
I've been raised as Christian. Yeah, I've been raised as Christian, and I have this belief that one of the most important things is to show the grace of God to others. That's mainly what I believe, and it's something that my dad has taught me a lot. So what is yours
Yeah,
specifically?
right now I'm actually studying Eastern Orthodoxy, but yeah, and I actually try to convert to it, but nobody's trying to convert me or share it to me. I just read about it and like look the theology, the liturgy, it attracted me so much that I thought like, whoa, this is the right kind of Christianity for me. But to be honest, like I don't think that other Christianity forms of Christianity are wrong or anything. I just feel that some people are meant for this kind of worship, but because well, I believe that every person is unique in their own sense, and we have different kinds of souls. And for me, this majest form of worship where there's an emphasis on majesty, solemnness, and the application of worship, not just in the spiritual sense or relationship sense, but also integrates the worship of using the body, right? Like for example, using incense or other ways to emphasize how your body can worship God. I think that for me that's really important, because I grew up in a Protestant family, and the thing about that is it's more of a super Americanized version where I don't really feel any connection. Rather, that it's just too simplified, I guess, because Americans are very pragmatic, so it really reflected in the kind of theology or form of worship they shared with other nations. So so yeah, but for me, like not only that, but the mysticism where that it's less rational in Eastern Orthodoxy, but more on the mystical side of spirituality, and to me, for me, if you ask me, I'm a super rational person, but excuse me. But when it comes to my own the spirit side of me, things get a little crazy. But yeah, but I'm starting to like Eastern Orthodoxy. But yes, I believe in Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the Holy Trinity. I don't care about the filioque. Maybe they're Catholic, all right? Maybe they're not. But for me, the Holy Spirit reveals Himself, God, to every person, and it might speak differently to others. I don't know, but for me, we all believe in one God. Yeah. So
And the
yeah.
interesting thing is, yeah, and the interesting thing is that God can use anyone. He literally used a jackass to do his work. So that's the cool thing about God. He can use literally anyone to help anyone.
Exactly. But but when we talk about like the story of Balaam, that it really interests me, because like a lot of atheists use that story to show the absurdity of the Bible, but I think there's a huge lesson we can learn from that, where it's just that God works in mysterious ways. And I know I hate that. I hate that when people use that, like say that, oh, because God, or as a response to answers that, because God works in mysterious ways, His ways are higher than our ways. But the thing is that when you think about it, it actually makes sense, because God having this omniscience, there might be a specific reason why there are these absurdities or absurd stories in the Bible, and it's really, I think it's always important to understand that um when we talk about the spiritual things, it doesn't always answer the rational answer questions that we always ask, yeah. So in terms of Jesus, like what do you believe about him?
I believe that, he was, he was God the Son. God sent his Son down in the form of man, to so that we could all be closer to him. That's what I believe. That's, the basis, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not too informed on a lot of my faith. I've actually been trying to get more into it because I feel like I had a lot of doubts surrounding it for a while, but a lot of things that have happened have kind of just started confirming it more for me, if that makes any sense. Sometimes every now and then you need a little bit of confirmation.
Yeah, true. Like, I've been through that. Like, I've always been on the brink of becoming an atheist just because of the level of skepticism I bring every time I challenge my faith, and especially like when we talk about God having a son and then sending his son to die on the cross, that's such a huge caricature where sometimes it's so hard to accept. It seems like came from a movie or something. But I guess that for me, the way I accepted it is that I thought about like what kind of God would actually be the best concept of God that you could imagine. Like, how about you? Like, like, what kind of God would be the best kind of God for you?
A God that wants the best for his children. Because the thing is that with what Christ did, we're all essentially brothers with Christ, making us God's children, essentially. So I think the best God would be a God that wants what's best for his children.
Yeah. And but I think that you're truly right there. And I think the best picture of what a God, the best kind of God we could have is a God that is a personal God, and that personal God who loved his creation so much that he would actually like lower himself and as to show his own unconditional love, and in order, and actually like in the image, and when you look at Christ, you see God himself submitting to human authority and actually suffering and dying in order to save mankind, which he loved perfectly, and it's an impartial love and a universal one that and I think that other concepts of God, like for example when we talk about the Muslim God or other kinds of gods that are just like super simple, that are unconscious or impersonal, I think that the Christian concept of God is the best kind of God, because it shows you that God himself already is perfect, with independent of creation, because he does not need creation for love, because he himself is already in perfect harmony with himself, with the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, already in holy communion with each other. So an atheist can say, "Oh, God created man so because he was lonely or something." No, he's not. But you could say that maybe for the Muslims, but for the Christian God, I think that creation could only be created from an overabundance of love, because God saw that it was good, but I guess that we can't argue that philosophically. To me, like natural, it can't we can't argue that natural creation, but yeah, like so I think that for me, I thought about this a lot, and and to be honest, like I've studied Islam. I've had Muslim friends who share the message of Muhammad to me, and and to me, the Muslim God doesn't actually like uh, have this kind of emotion that it brings to me. I guess that it's not a rational argument that could convince anyone, but this is how I look at it, and for me, like being a human being, I don't just act with my mind, but I also act both with heart and soul and spirit and other kinds of parts of me, so I don't think you'd agree with me, but yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, that's a perfectly acceptable opinion to have. I think that with a lot of atheism, I don't really have a problem with atheists, I have quite a few friends who are atheists,
Yeah, yeah, me too. Yeah,
I don't have like any problem with being
yeah,
friends
yeah,
with people like that. I think the issue is that with some atheists though, they kind of a little bit too focused on logic, if that
yeah,
makes sense.
exactly.
Cold logic instead of like, because the way that I see it, it's not just facts, but the way that a person sees the world, the way that they feel, that also shapes reality. It's not just like the way that you say that things are. Things aren't always as simple as you claim them to be.
Exactly. True.
And we can all disagree and still be friends. I think that's something that a lot of people have forgotten. A lot of people have the idea of, oh, you believe something different than me? You're my enemy and I hate you. That's not how it works. I
Yeah.
mean, with some things, if someone believes something, I don't think I'd ever want to be friends with them. But with other things, it's like, we just have a difference of opinion. We can still be friends. I believe something different, you believe something different. That's what makes us different.
Agreed.
Our differences are what make us human.
Yeah.
I don't want you to believe something just because it's something that I believe in. I want you to believe in something because you find truth in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like
I don't want you to believe in something just to try to
yeah,
please me.
I've been talking to a lot of people on this podcast, and it has always ended well, even if like there's huge disagreements in what we believe. But for me, like we always find I guess that in every web of disagreement, there's always one thing that we would agree on, which is that we all want
Hmm.
a better world for each other, and the only way, yeah,
Oh yeah,
exactly,
for
and the
sure.
only way we could have a better world is that I respect your belief, you respect mine. We might disagree, but look, I love you as a human, and I think you would love me as a human as well, and we could all create this world where everyone doesn't kill each other just because they have difference in beliefs, so that's always the case when we end up the episode, and I hope that ends like that with me and you, bro.
Dude, I believe it will. I think we've had a really good discussion here today. It's always good to have these sorts of discussions because sometimes it's always good to, get different
Yeah.
perspectives.
Yeah, exactly. But and then I want to ask your own perspective on the afterlife, because um and also, yeah, you talked about not acting as if God exists. Could you expand on that? That seemed interesting.
Yeah, it's like the way I see it is like if you act like the afterlife doesn't exist, then personally you would want to make life for every human, or at least most people that you meet, if you were truly compassionate and you really don't believe in an afterlife, you would want to make life as good as possible for the people on the earth. Because like I said, if you believe that there's no afterlife, then you believe that after this, there's nothing else. This is all there is. And so I think logically, if you're someone who's compassionate, someone who cares a lot about people, all right, yeah. But like I was saying, I think the thing is that if you're a really compassionate person who cares about, the people of this world, you would want to make life as good as possible. Because the mindset of that person is one that says, it's not about being immortal. It's about doing something that kind of makes you live forever in the minds of all the people that you've helped. The goal isn't to be immortal for them. The goal is to do something that makes you immortal in their mind, that makes you something that people won't forget.
Yeah. And in terms of this, how you become immortal in their mind, what kind of give me an example of what act or behavior I would show someone in order for them to always remember me as this awesome person in their lives.
I think a lot of the times it's kind of really difficult, but I think someone that's immortal in someone's mind is someone who's a person that just shows the love of Christ consistent.
Yeah, and for you, like can you describe this behavior which glows with the love of Christ? Because we have to be specific here. How would you describe someone with the love of Christ?
Yeah, someone with the love of Christ is someone who, I think it all comes down to one thing, love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as you love yourself. I think with some people, a lot of Christians don't really know who they are. And as a result, they can't love people as they love themselves because they don't even love themselves the way they should, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And I've always saw this as that I think the greatest commandment that God has given man is to love, and I think that's the only thing that we should only actually do, because like if you look at it, like the verse, like if you love God and you can't love God and not love your neighbor, and you can't love your neighbor and not love God. It's like it goes both ways. It's the same thing. And for some,
yeah. And the interesting thing is that yeah. And the crazy thing is like the way that Jesus came and he just like shifted the entire thought process. Because first it was like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do. It's an action. But then, Jesus came along and says, like, if you even look at a woman with, this, then you've already committed lust within your heart. It's like, wow, we went straight from, if you do this, it's bad, to it's the thought behind it, like the intention. If you have the intention, thought behind it, then that's sin. It's interesting to think about that way. Because you take the law from, don't commit murder, don't do this, and it's like you go to love is like if you love someone, you're probably not going to murder them. If you love someone, you're probably not going to steal from them. If you love someone, you're probably not going to, covet what they have, It's like it all comes down to that one thing. Well, those two things, I guess I should say. But,
Yeah,
go from, the 10 Commandments to just love God with all your heart and, love your neighbor as you love yourself. It all goes down to those two things.
But the hard thing about this is that you're probably not gonna do this, perfect this in even in a day. You're probably always going to like falter. But the best thing, yeah, exactly.
Oh, for sure.
But the best thing about
and one of the best things.
Yeah, what do you think is the?
One of the best things about one of the best things about being a Christian is that we have an advocate.
Amen.
Because of Jesus.
Amen.
We're not perfect, but he is.
Yeah, and let me ask you, like, for example, in your own personal life, what is the impact of having Christ or believing in Christ, or compared to a life that you didn't have pay attention to Christ?
Honestly, I feel like I'd just be kind of a little bit. I feel like I'd be kind of a miserable person, if that makes sense. The way I see it is like with a lot of with atheism, there really isn't any hope. There's no hope. It's just like, we all do this and then, we all die. It's like there's nothing after that. There's no hope in that. It just sounds like a miserable existence to me.
True. And with in this like world, like if you believe that the world was like deterministic, don't have free will, there's no meaning, it actually brings you to this cold dark place, and we talked about like what you believe shapes you, and in turn, like what happens is when you believe all these things that life is meaningless, it's all nihilistic, and I'm just an accident or whatnot. You ingrain this in your system, and it defines you, and it turns you into this robot in life, and all you can see are shadows, But the thing is that you have this potential to see beauty in life, to love, to have hope, and all these beautiful things, but you ignore them just because you pay more attention to one part of your brain, but you ignore all the other parts that emphasize the beautiful things that God shared in this life,
But yeah, and the crazy thing is, the whole life has no meaning. The serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer thought that, and he said that's why he did what he did. Life has no meaning. Who cares what I do? It doesn't matter. So I can just do whatever I want, and that's a sad way to look at the world.
It is, and but the problem is like with people like these psychopaths. I think that it's not that what they believe, but I think there's a real mental problem, disorder, or psychological defects in their brain that cause them to do this, But because like if you're someone who's healthy, even if you have nihilistic beliefs that everything has meaning, because you're in your right mind, I think you will still act as if there's love, there's hope in life, there's meaning, because that's how we were created to do, to act. And if you look at atheists, I have a lot of atheist friends, and they don't believe that life has meaning or whatnot. But no matter what kind of nihilistic beliefs they have, they still can't deny that life should be lived, and they should be happy, and they should love, and it's really, I guess, that it's ingrained in how we were created, because if you just evolved to act like this, we wouldn't care if life had meaning, or about love or family or hope or good. It wouldn't matter for us, but it does, and like there are billions of people on Earth who no matter how nihilistic life may seem to them, they still act as if there's value in it. There's still morality, and I think that's really shows us that of God's design in all of us.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. Us as humans have like the capacity to do and to do good, to do evil, to feel. We're like the only sentient beings that exist, as far as we know. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about your own interests, like because you said earlier you were on music for like 9 years or so. Tell me more about that, bro.
Oh, well, music's always just been a huge part of my life. My dad is a really good guitar player, so music's always been a big part of my life. I love to sing. I think I'm pretty good at it. I've been doing it for 9 years now, and music's always just been a big part of my life. So that's like my primary interest. What would you say is like your interest exactly? Like, what do you like to do?
Right now, I think my primary interest in life is philosophy. And I still imagine myself at like 65, still struggling with philosophy, broke and poor but happy. But I don't really care about other stuff like getting rich or like nah, I don't really care. But even if like I don't get what I want, like the material stuff, for me, like my only contribution on this life, if there's ever anything I could contribute, it would be to to think more about philosophy and bring us closer to finding the truth, and this is what I believe, like, because I believe that God is truth, and the more we discover truth, we attempt to find or the nature of truth and what it is. I think the more we would get closer to understanding God, and that, for me, that's an attempt at life that is worth it for me.
Yeah, man. It's been great talking to you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate that I was, presented with this opportunity to talk to you. You made me think a lot. I think that I made you think a lot too. We each were able to share our perspectives, and I think that things like this is really what's necessary for improving the world. Having a dialogue, So I really appreciate, talking to you. Presenting me with this opportunity. I just really appreciate it, man.
So that's the end of it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is your host, Elmo Ador Jr., and thank you for listening in, and please subscribe. Please follow us on Facebook. Please follow this. Please. Thanks.
It used to be hard to find the exact auto parts you needed, and that meant spending a lot of time at swap meets. It's a different game now when you can order exactly what you need from eBay Motors. They have 122 million parts, so you can always find the right fitment. Spend less time searching and more time building with the eBay Motors app, or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.